have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
With Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am pumped. It is a new schedule here at not only Reality Rants, but for all of RVM. We're kicking off this new 12-hour block, which I think is really impressive. I don't know that it's really been done well in alternative media before, and these guys are doing it right. So for those that are not aware, I just want to encourage everybody to watch the second hour free now on multiple platforms outside of YouTube. So we're going to save the uncensored stuff for the second hour, just because, I mean, YouTube's crazy, man. Over the weekend, I sat there and I watched more Club Random with Bill Maher. Because, look, Bill Maher, love him or hate him, has a strong opinion, sticks to it, has his blind spots, but for the most part, to me, was the classic liberal, at least what I grew up with. And I watched him grow. And I would say that Bill Maher is responsible for my first look at politics in kind of a entertainment and funny way, because Politically Incorrect on Comedy Central, before it was even on the networks, was something that suddenly interested me. Okay, I was into history as a kid. I liked to debate. That these were things that were interesting, but I also loved comedy. Still love comedy, by the way. In fact, just random shout out here because it is Reality Rants. I watched some Starvos, can't remember his last name, some Greek dude. Really funny. Good stuff. I'll recommend that. Not political humor really at all. And that's fine. I can have comedy with my politics with some Bill Maher or without. But I'm watching Bill Maher and Woody Harrelson, and there are things that are said in that podcast there's no chance I would get away with on YouTube. Zero. Zippity doo dah, zippity a. Meanwhile, Bill Maher's obviously monetized, okay? And I was surprised. He and Woody had a conversation about quote unquote terrain theory versus germ or virus or viral theory, which I didn't think was going to be possible, but they're allowed to have it. I'm not. And I actually liked Bill Maher's response. It's not that you can't have both. Even Peter McCullough has kind of talked about that as well. Really interesting stuff. But then he made some comments about that. There's no way I'd get away with. So, Real Deal Holyfield, from now on, second hour, go subscribe over on Rumble to both Red Voice Media or myself, and that's where you're going to find the second hour. If you're a Rokfinner, guess what? You get the second hour. And if you went premium on Red Voice, don't worry. 2 interviews a week, Right now, we've got Wayne Dupree, who is on this network and also a veteran in the field of talk radio, and a second guest as yet to be determined. We haven't locked anything in yet, but I've got a couple of good ideas of who we can get if the main person kind of falls through for the week. You're going to get 2 every week, I promise. And after 2 weeks, that's going to go free. We love giving stuff away free here. Another change in the format. Every 15 minutes or so, there is going to be a commercial. It's happening. Can you believe it? We're going to put commercials in here. And hopefully, eventually, what will happen is I'll get like a run clock on the other end. That might be tough with the setup, but that's what I get when I do like InfoWars. I see the clock run. So I know how much time I have in a segment. They just cue up the commercial. But we are a one-man show in many regards here, and we can definitely take care of that. So a commercial every 15 minutes, free second hour. What more could you want? How about breaking Epstein news? How about some briggity breaking Epstein news? So Wall Street Journal didn't have this under a paywall yesterday. They do today. I was kind of upset. It's funny because I knew I was going to cover this story after it broke out. And I talk about Chomsky. He's meeting with the ex-head of the CIA, too. And we're not talking about, like, in the distant past. No, we're talking about, like, 2015 to 2017 range when everybody should have known better. Okay? So it wasn't behind a paywall. Reading it last night, I'm like, awesome. This is going to be great. Behind a paywall today. That's okay. Everybody else in the media picked up on it. And to me, Chomsky stands out. And why does Chomsky stand out? Because he's really been total and complete. Talk about, he brought people in from the left on a thing called manufactured consent. And actually on C-SPAN, I think it was in the early 90s, he did it. May have been in the mid-90s. He did a lecture called New World Order. How do I know this? Well, I'll tell you how I know it. Because I did a whole film on just that topic of the New World Order, globalization, etc. I don't know that I actually included anything from Chomsky's New World Order. I'm sure we can go find it on C-SPAN right now if we wanted to. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. And although, again, he does a good job of exposing some of the mechanisms. He was so soft on 9/11. That was it. That was the litmus test for everybody. I'm telling you. And if you don't think that was the litmus test, if you haven't finally apologized by now, if you were one of those people attacking 9/11 truth, now's the time to do it. Okay? Because right now, 9/11's getting a little bit of play in the alternative media because of the revelations with the Central Intelligence Agency. I need to reach out to J. Michael Springman, who is in Fabled Enemies, who was part of the consulate that was letting a lot of these hijackers in, who blew the whistle before they got into the country, that it was being used as a CIA conduit for covert ops with their asset, Big Dog, Biggity Bin Laden. The big dog. The big doggy dog. And you're like, Jason, that's insane. That's totally nuts. And then you just do some basic cursory research on who this guy is and how he worked with the network of the Central Intelligence Agency and the Pakistani ISI against the Russians when it was, oh my God, Vladimir. And it's openly discussed how the funding of the Mujahideen evolves into Al-Qaeda. It's not a mystery. And these were things that were talked about in the very beginning. Very beginning. And if you've seen Fabled Enemies or me playing the clips, you know that we talk about CIA, FBI, military involvement with these hijackers all over the place. But in particular, Al-Madar stands out more and more because he seems to have both the FBI and CIA connection. Okay? And all of these things, every single damn one of them, was ignored by guys like Chomsky. Chomsky in particular. And then, during the COVID-1984 nightmare, you know how Chomsky went. Chomsky's all authoritarian then. Now, we're going to read part of this New York Post article, but when do you think Sir Chomsky was going to meet with Epstein? And here's the deal. Another big thing that people miss is just because you're meeting with Epstein, okay, or you're in the black book, because none of these people were in the black book that was published earlier. And I told people, listen, this guy had Rolodexes of contacts. When you're a billionaire, you can meet people. All right? Not all of these people were involved in, what people will call, adrenochrome baby sucking molestation. That's a joke, everybody. It's a dark humor joke, because with every kind of like conspiracy theory, there's a lot of truth to it. We've covered Epstein at length here now since the inception of this channel, obviously, but even prior to that. This channel started in 2007. So, we're covering this when I was on InfoWars. It's a big deal. So, Chomsky in particular seems to have been meeting with Epstein in 2017 when everybody knew better. Everybody. In fact, I believe one of the reasons that Epstein eventually does get picked up, right, is because of the pressure of alternative media that put pressure on government officials to make it okay. And finally, you had some people in New York locally that were just fed up. Now, maybe it becomes part of a bigger op to get rid of him, but I doubt that they wanted him to be in jail where he would, have to commit suicide twice to succeed that. Call me kooky. Call me a conspiracy nut. So let's read some of this, because obviously, the ex-head of the Central Intelligence Agency, also a big deal. Everybody in this is a big deal. And I told everybody this was the case to look at. That the islands suing these banks case, okay, was going to produce documents that really had some meat on the bone. The list of Jeffrey Epstein's possible connections now includes America's spy chief, a college president, and a former Obama White House counsel, according to a collection of previously unreported documents that include the convicted sex offenders' schedules. A trove of papers obtained by the Wall Street Journal show meetings between Epstein and several prominent people, including 3 with William Burns, the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, when he was the Deputy Secretary of State in 2014. No big deal. These prominent people have not been accused of any wrongdoing, and all have maintained their connections with Epstein were purely personal or social. Yeah, right. This is at least business. All of these are rife with corruption. When you're talking about government agencies and PACs and politicians, guess what they love and they need? Money. When you're talking about universities, they need donors and money. This guy had connections in all the right places. Everybody would meet him. And then you got academia all over the place. Harvard in particular, by the way. Harvard in particular. We're also going to play a throwback clip today of myself talking about how Epstein didn't have to register as a sex offender in 30 states. He only had to register in 20 states. That's if he ever visited them. He only legally had to do that in 20 states or have a residence there. I'm not even sure yet. So this guy wasn't even really on the registry. That's the kind of sweetheart deal Alan Dershowitz gets you. The dirty Dersh. I mean, my goodness. But hey, I'm bad for bringing it up. All right, let's keep going because this is pretty wild. None of these names appeared in Epstein's Black Book of Contacts, the Journal reported, or in the flight logs of passengers who traveled on his private jet. Because those were what? Partial flight logs. Partial flight logs from certain years. So there was a ton of that stuff. Epstein, a registered sex offender, brokered the meetings after he served time in prison in 2008 for a sex crime involving a teenage girl, the report said. And we're going to come back to this after this break, everybody. That's how we does it now.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
All right, everybody, we are back. Commercial numero uno. Numero uno, doing it 4 times. I know. Advertising now. Crazy. It's the pillow guy. I know. The documents show Noam Chomsky, the author, activist, and professor, was scheduled to fly with Epstein and have dinner at his Manhattan home in 2015. Leon Balston, the longtime president of Bard College, met Epstein several times and even invited him to campus, according to the Journal. Of course they did. And all of them know. It's a big joke. This should let you know how much they actually care about children. Oh, we care about children. Oh, the left tells you they care about children. And listen, Republicans are compromised too. This guy was dirty on both sides. 100%. And bankers, they're not red or blue. They're green, baby. They're green. That kind of green. And they'll tell you they're the other type of green for sustainability. Kathleen Rumler, who served as White House counsel under President Barack Obama, met with Epstein dozens of times in the years between her White House career and her next job as an attorney at Goldman Sachs, the report said. How convenient. How convenient. Epstein had also planned for her to be on 2 trips with him, a 2015 visit to Paris and a 2017 journey to his private island in the Caribbean, according to the Journal. Most of the people included in the thousands of pages of emails and schedules from 2013 to 2017 told the Journal that they met with Epstein because of his wealth and connections, which is true. The question is, did they maybe go a little too far, like maybe a Jess Staley, who says he's being, hung out to dry and basically really being pushed forward by J.P. Morgan and others. J.P. Morgan gets First Republic Bank today as well, another big news story. We got plenty of other news stories to hit, and I got plenty of clips. But the first clip I want to hit before we get to, maybe we'll do a fun one. Maybe we'll do Joe Biden first. We're gonna probably do a watch along, depending on the time we have. Probably in the second hour, with this Joe Biden video with the White House correspondents, because the circus show is over the top. We're definitely going to play some clips, but I can't help myself to play this clip before we play a clip of just an insane government drill, law enforcement drill, run amok. And it shows you how ridiculous the government is. But this is the dark cartoon.
In a lot of ways, this dinner sums up my first 2 years in office. I'll talk for 10 minutes, take 0 questions, and cheerfully walk away.
That's hilarious. It's like, I'm not present. I really don't run anything. You can't do anything about it. Ha 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 ha. What? Yep. That's the place we live in. We're going to come back to the White House Correspondents' Dinner later in the broadcast, more than likely in the second half of the show, but maybe at the tail end of the first hour. Because again, second half is now going to be uncensored and free. But YouTube only lets you go so far. And let's be honest. The people in that room with him that are laughing about this, they're the equivalent of the Leslie Stahl that looks a Trump in the face and laughs at him when he says, you guys report on Joe Biden eating ice cream. He's in the middle of a scandal. There's no scandal. And then she tells him no, I believe 4 to 5 times when he says his campaign was spied on. Says there's no evidence of it. It's fairy tales and unicorns. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, and get ready for why you need oversight on government. And a lot of these drills that the government does, not so great.
We begin with breaking news that the WBZI team reported first on CBS News Boston. FBI agents barging into the wrong room at the Revere Hotel in Boston during what it says was a training exercise. An unsuspecting airline pilot was inside that room and was handcuffed and questioned before agents finally realized the mistake.
WBZ Chief Investigator Cheryl Fiandaca broke this story that you saw first here on WBZ and has the latest on this major mix-up.
It's a major mix-up.
Eastland by the Revere Hotel, 2 Delta pilots had people claiming to be FBI agents barge into their room and handcuff them to the bathroom.
See, right there, the report is 2 and not 1. Definitely keeping an eye on this story because Lord knows what they did to these guys to interrogate them.
It played out like a scene out of a movie. FBI agents working with the Department of Defense barged into a room on the 15th floor of the Revere Hotel on Stewart Street in Boston.
Good old DOJ, DOD joint exercise. Hooah!
The FBI says it happened just before midnight on Wednesday. Agents banged on the door to room 1505. Inside was a sleeping Delta Airlines pilot who was a guest at the hotel. He opened the door, and sources say agents barged in, handcuffed and interrogated the pilot for more than 45 minutes and put him in the shower.
They put him in the shower. You gotta wonder if they poured water on him, if they stripped him down. I'm not saying they did any of these things, but we're getting a pretty vague report right now of what happened. Throwing that out there.
Nearly an hour later, sources say they realized their mistake, took the cuffs off, and released him. The FBI says agents were conducting a training operation and a mock interrogation to simulate what a Department of Defense employee deployed overseas could encounter. The pilot notified hotel security, who called Boston police. The I-team obtained the Boston police report that shows responding officers wearing body cameras were told law enforcement agents were in fact training in the building.
Could you send me EMS?
EMS was called to evaluate the pilot, who refused treatment. The I-team spoke to that pilot by phone, who told us he couldn't talk about what happened. We reached out to the FBI, who told us in a statement, based on inaccurate information, they were mistakenly sent to the wrong room and detained an individual, not the intended role player. Thankfully, nobody was injured. And
just thankfully, nobody was injured with our asinine drill. I mean, oh boy. And the problem with that is that lays to the credence of people who are like Chomsky, right? Chomsky will say, look how inept the DOD and the DOJ is. They're the Three Stooges. Well, when you look at these operations, unfortunately, it's only not when there's like gross negligence, but when there's active skepticism within the operation that doesn't get exposed. It's not just incompetence, right? When we talk about John Antisev and the 93 World Trade Center bombing with Ahmed Salam, there is no doubt the DOJ, in conjunction with the ATF, built the bomb. They built it. Without them, does not get built at all. You know why? Because they can't get the materials. All right? The two guys that parked the truck in the first World Trade Center bombing, Their IQ not so high. Didn't park it in the right place. Can you imagine if the World Trade Center, the middle column, somehow was damaged so badly that at the bottom baseline of it, it actually did tilt over? Forget about 9/11. This would have been whoa. And Ahmed Salam, who's the Egyptian army officer that gets hired, is like, wait a minute, why aren't we building a fake bomb? As soon as we're not building a fake bomb, I'm going to start recording these people. And then you find out about the actual malice. And then you look at the cover-up after the fact and how most people don't even know that. And when I say that to people, they go, that's insane. That can't be real. It's real. It's real. Meanwhile, again, big sports fan. Big MMA sports fan. Every time I go to watch Bellator, another MMA organization outside of the UFC, I usually have to go to Showtime. Showtime has the USA rights. Every once in a while it's something else, but mostly Showtime. Right now, they're running this big propaganda piece about the aftermath of Waco on Timothy McVeigh. All right? And it's fertilizer bomb central. Fertilizer bomb. Meanwhile, again, when you look at the evidence and I play you videos, they took explosives outside of the building. And guess what? They were running those magical drills. Lots of drills. Another drill on 9/11, too. Oh, another drill? Lots of drills. Whole lot of drills. So, I can show you the governor, Frank Keating, at the time, as it happens, talking about the explosives being taken out of the building. I can show you the bomb trucks. You can look at the damage and basically understand that the building's blown out. Magically, no footage catches it. It's magic. Blowing up buildings. Even in the 90s, that's ridiculous, folks. It's absolutely ridiculous. And close to 30 years later, there's big Hollywood propaganda piece on it. With great lighting and awesome actors and amazing drama. You listen here, damn it. And that's what most people are going to gravitate to. Right? Can you imagine what it's going to be like if they don't get us all to bend the knee and basically merge with the machines like they want, or believe that we can upload our consciousness, or be 162 different genders, including a unicorn with a leprechaun riding on the back over a rainbow into a pot of gold and platinum and silver and diamonds. It's my identity. That's my gender identity. If they don't get that, what are the stories like going to be via Epstein? Are they eventually going to be like hero tales, like he was actually like the spy and the good guy because he had the baby making farm, the Epstein baby making ranch? I mean, my God. Again, sounds too over the top to be true, but is it? In a world of massive censorship. In fact, I don't even want to play this clip where RFK Jr. gets censored. He gets censored. He called it when back in the day, there's an actual law that says you can't censor a presidential candidate. For obvious reasons. For obvious reasons. They need to be able to get their message out to the people and say what they need to say. And I'm sorry, everybody. Politicians lie. We know they lie. That's never been a crime before. And it's certainly never been a reason for them to censor. And these mainstream media networks have carried water for establishment talking points and agendas since their inception. Period. That's basics and very, very obvious. And so when I now see the censorship of RFK Jr., not thrilled. I will give credit to Smirkomish. Okay, I watched this interview. We'll probably watch a little bit of it on the uncensored part of the broadcast. But he actually let RFK Jr. speak, and they actually had a dialogue. And I've spoke with Smirkomish before. I don't like him on a lot of issues. I think that he takes, the establishment points all the time. He's not great, but at least he'll let you talk. With that being said, we need to go to another break, so let's hit it up.
Folks, we have a huge problem on our hands. A banking crisis is spiraling, and it's all thanks to the current administration's reckless spending, sky-high inflation, and massive interest rate hikes. Now, these banks are suffering, and guess what? They can legally seize your savings without notice to bail themselves out. That's right. Thanks to a sneaky law passed back in 2008, it's now legal for banks to take your hard-earned money, including your retirement savings, to save themselves. Now, this could leave your retirement accounts decimated, and you paying the price for their disastrous policies. Take action now before it's too late. Now, this guide will show you how to defend your money and keep your retirement savings safe from the banking crisis and the current administration's financial fiasco. This simple and 100% legal strategy may help you protect your retirement against higher taxes, soaring inflation, and a volatile economy. So don't let your golden years be ruined by someone else's mistakes. To secure your free wealth protection guide and safeguard what's rightfully yours, don't wait. The time to act is now.
All right, folks, we are back. I want to play this clip from gotta be almost 5 years ago. Now, this is a piece I did on Epstein. I kid you not. If you look this up, it's called In 30 States, Epstein Doesn't Have to Register. This video literally got less than 1,000 views. I think it's got like 500 or 600 views. So virtually nobody's seen it, even within the Bermas Brigade audience. But it's important to note that because of the deal he got, in New Mexico included, he didn't even have to register as a sex offender. And that played into why all these people thought they were safe. Like Chomsky and Staley and allegedly Diamond and others having relationships with Epstein long after the conviction. So let's play this clip. This is 2018 or 19, everybody. So, in a not-so-stunning report, we have just found out, after really years of misinformation, even I've been partial to, that Jeffrey Epstein had to plead down as a sex offender to being with a 14-year-old girl. However, that does not seem to be the case. You see, as part of this sweetheart deal, the girl that he was actually charged with was 16 years old. This is a bombshell report from the Washington Post. This is coming out of the federal investigation. This is all pretty brand new stuff, folks. And why is this important? Well, I got to tell you, the reason it seems to be extremely important to me is the fact that he doesn't have to register in 30 states. 30 states! Okay? Think about that. Now, that's according to Wikipedia, but there are 30 states that he's fine in. No big deal. No big deal. Think about that, folks. Think about how unjust that is. How wild that is. Right behind me is a little bit of a graph, but I want to go on because, he owns property. The guy could own property anywhere, but he owns property in New Mexico especially. Okay, let's just read some of this. So the younger girl who initially notified police has long been believed that hers was the case referenced in the guilty plea, her attorney said. Some media accounts said as much. Publicly available charging documents contained no name or age, however. Pressed to resolve the ambiguity, state prosecutors in Florida recently provided the Post with the victim's date of birth. The decision to charge Epstein with a crime involving an older teen, part of a plea deal that has already been criticized as overly lenient, has eased his obligations to register as a sex offender in New Mexico, for instance, where Epstein has a 7,600-acre property called Zorro Ranch. And I want to scroll right down here where it says this: they were cutting a plea deal. It was not a prosecution, said attorney Spencer Coven, who represented the 14-year-old girl who alerted police. Referencing the number of victims, court records say federal prosecutors identified they had a grab bag of 40 girls to choose from. 40 girls. This already sweetheart deal just continues to get worse and worse and worse. For those who don't know, he actually settled a suit back in December. I believe it was December 4th on the morning. Now, a lot of people were kind of upset about this because it was viewed upon as it shut girls up, right? They weren't going to be able to come out. But that's not really the case. Now, in this, you'll hear the lawyer for the lawyer that sued. Yeah, see, this is a 10-year-old case in the respect that Jeffrey Epstein sued this man right here. He was representing many of these victims. His name is Bradley Edwards. And while he was representing these victims, Epstein began to lie about him, smear him, and then take him to court. Now, instead of folding and stop representing and getting out of the case, he countersued Epstein. That case, I believe, took well over 8 years to get to this point where they were at jury selection. The morning of jury selection, Jeffrey Epstein settled. Now, in order to settle, there was an undisclosed cash amount. But I want you to hear first what this lawyer says about upcoming trials because of this verdict. Now, this, again, is this man, the lawyer for Bradley Edwards, who was the original lawyer that was sued by Epstein and then countersued.
We set out to defend against a vicious attack on the reputation of Bradley Edwards by Jeffrey Epstein, a self-proclaimed billionaire, a serial sexual abuser of children. The assault was particularly egregious because it involved the malicious misuse of the civil justice system. It involved the use of the civil justice system as a tool for extortion.
So that he's referring to Epstein's initial lawsuit against Edwards. Now, I want to read to you here what Epstein had to say. Now, remember, Edwards represented many of these women. While Mr. Edwards was representing clients against me, okay, this is so key. I filed a lawsuit against him in which I made allegations about him that the evidence conclusively proves were absolutely false. Okay, I made stuff up. That's one. First sentence. Second sentence. The truth was that his aggressive investigation and litigation style was highly effective and therefore troublesome for me. The lawsuit I filed was my unreasonable attempt to damage his business reputation, and cause Mr. Edwards to stop pursuing cases against me. It did not work. Despite my efforts, he continued to do an excellent job for his clients and through his relentless pursuit held me responsible. I am now admitting that I was wrong and that the things I said to try to harm Mr. Edwards' reputation as a trial lawyer were false. I sincerely apologize for my false and hurtful allegations I made and hope some forgiveness for my acknowledgement of wrongdoing. So in other words, everything that Edwards was doing was correct. Everything that Edwards had said and put forth in court was correct. And everything that Epstein did against him was false. Now, I want you to hear Edwards really quickly here so you can kind of understand where he's coming from on all this. Because, again, a lot of people are going to say, oh, this silences the victims. I don't think that's the case.
Epstein, and then upon my return, sir. So again, I thank you very much. We'll be responsible.
The court made it very clear that he was not going to allow this case to turn into a trial about whether and to what extent Jeffrey Epstein molested dozens of children. It was not going to be about that. It was only going to be on Jeffrey Epstein's assault on me.
But again, he says these things. And then his lawyer, later on, when asked about Weinstein, and he talks about Weinstein, this gentleman behind me, talks about Weinstein and that he moved in the same circles as Jeffrey Epstein and that he was basically running Hollywood. Now remember, there may not be that many allegations of Harvey Weinstein going after underage girls, but we have at least one, and I'm just going to say that she's currently making headlines dating Pete Davidson, Kate Beckinsale, when she was pre-18. Now in California, the consent age is 18. Just putting that out there. And that Epstein not only moved in the same circles, but his lawyer, who we saw earlier, said he slithered in the same circles. So I want you to get this through your head, okay? 16 years old, legal in 30 states. 30 states. Take a look behind me, guys. That's the age of consent in a lot of places. In a lot of places, the man behind me owns properties. And remember when he did serve prison time, he would serve prison time at night and have an ankle bracelet on. And there's some questions of when he was checking in, if he was checking in at all, how long he was spending there, if he was even spending the nights. And this shows you what money and power can get you when you have a black book that lists people like Bill Clinton, Kevin Spacey, and even Trump. You know, we've been critical of Trump in the past, but from the evidence that we've uncovered, the lawyer that we just featured actually said Trump was one of the only people that called him back when he was beginning to litigate against Jeffrey Epstein. And that speaks volumes about Trump when you had so many high-level, high-profile people, Tommy Mottola, in that black book. And just on one last note, let's talk about how that black book even surfaced. The only reason we know about the black book, and again, the lawyer, Bradley Edwards, alludes to in another interview that there were many black books, and this was for a specific location. However, the only reason that that came out was because a butler within Jeffrey Epstein's home leaked that. He did more prison time than Epstein himself. And folks, he is no longer with us. And that's fact, Jack. You can look up everything I've said, and it is making me sick. And it continues to make me sick that we get more and more and more of this information. However, criminal prosecutions don't seem to be happening. And really the only litigation that is painting the larger picture is the civil litigation that we've seen. And again, that clip 4 or 5 years ago, still relevant in my eyes. Got a few more clips here. While we're talking Trump, look, Trump obviously had connections to Epstein. We've been critical of that. Bradley Edwards says he's one of the only people, if not the only high-profile person that actually gave him a call back. Trump had the cojones to talk about Epstein and played really what would become his base with Sean Hannity prior and discuss the Clinton relationship. That's an interesting aspect of this that we can't ignore. Has to be discussed, must be discussed, can't ignore it, okay? So there's a lot of aspects to that. And look, I've never accused Clinton of being with anybody underage. In fact, I've talked about this, that the underage aspect is a small aspect. That's definitely an aspect. I wouldn't say, none of it's small. The abuse of children and women, not small. but they would be groomed into legal age and then, again, used basically as sex slaves for a lot of these people we're finding out had associations with Epstein. That's real. Okay, that's real. We have to understand that. We can't dismiss that. Can't ignore it. And I refuse to ignore that. Not going to dare ignore that. So we got another commercial. I'm sorry, guys. We got the commercial break. It's going to be 4. And here we go. Next commercial up here.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? This little-known order implemented the digital dollar, the most sinister plan to control your spending. And it gets worse. In November, the federal government and banks began a test program to roll out the digital dollar. With this, privacy for all Americans will be lost forever. Imagine, the government can now track all of your spending. The government can tell you what you can and can't buy. The government could confiscate your cash. When digital currency was rolled out in China, Bloomberg wrote, quote, "This will lead to control like no other," end quote. The EU has announced that they are next, but it is already happening in America, which makes this wealth protection guide that American Alternative Assets just put out even more urgent. Project Hamilton, as this secret order is being called, might be the scariest order to happen to privacy and freedom in America since its founding, which makes this wealth protection guide so incredibly valuable right now. Move your money out of cash and into something that doesn't infringe on your privacy. You see, there is one legal IRS-proof loophole that could protect your IRA, 401k, and pension savings with gold and silver. And this free guide tells you exactly which steps you need to take right now to move part of your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax consequences. As this program rolls out, the sky's the limit for the level of government control that could be enforced on your money. Protect your savings and your privacy. But in the devastation ahead, American Alternative Assets is offering you something rare, a chance to protect your wealth and possibly even grow it.
And there you go. One more commercial. Free speech matters. Okay, I just got a text saying I was muted. I know you guys heard that. I heard it through my thing. Hopefully that was from an earlier text. Again, we're on the fly. First day in a new format. Still going. Second hour. Uncensored at the top of the hour. You're all invited to come over to Rumble. If you're a Rokfiner, you can check it out there. We always do the second hour over on Podbean. Another great way to get the show in audio format. I was talking Trump before, and there's a new clip that sounds great if Trump could actually do it, if he actually gets in, if he can actually get in, if he can actually challenge the deep state in a manner he wasn't able to do before but said he would. I'm aware of all these things. So Trump talks about a declassification committee, and basically a committee that how do I put this? I don't want to say manages truth, because that a lot of people are interpreting that way, and obviously I wouldn't like that. But it talks about censorship. Now, first of all, our declassification system is absolutely insane. And the next obvious thing is that Trump failed to declassify the JFK documents that he promised us. So how in the world is he going to really declassify this stuff? It sounds kind of absurd. Like he didn't give us what he should have given us, that he should have given us under the law that he discussed giving us twice. And if you can't expose the deep state from the 1960s, how do you beat the deep state in the 2020s? It's also like, how are you fixing the issues with these selections, aka elections, if we're not getting rid of the machines, if we're not getting rid of mail-in ballots or ballot harvesting, if we're not randomly auditing? I would say we should be randomly auditing 25%, 1 in 4 of everything, of all results. Imagine that. Like real, actual audit. So how does any of this happen? And how does Trump get this in with his Truth Commission? And Is this a backdoor into a ministry of truth and more censorship, not less? All, I think, valid questions.
We will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. By the way, they spied on my campaign. They got caught. Can you imagine if let's take Barack Hussein Obama. Let's say we spied on his campaign, you got caught. What do you think would happen? You think it would just be some stories in only a few newspapers, because most of them don't even want to write it. They would have brought back the electric chair. That's what they would have done. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Unequal justice.
And here's the thing. You think they spied on Trump's campaign. You can't convince me that you could go all the way back to the Ron Paul revolution. And if we looked at that, absolutely the Department of Justice and more than likely Homeland Security were spying on Ron Paul's campaign back in the day. Trump's just got so much momentum and they got caught that the media just got, no, none of it's real. No, there's no evidence. No, there's no Hunter Biden laptop. No, there's no business dealings. No crimes, Russian disinformation, Russian disinformation. So, I want to play in this last segment at least a little bit of this White House press club suck-up fest. The comedian that they got doing this, I haven't seen much of his stuff. Maybe his stand-up's funny. I don't know. I'll be honest. The most I've seen the guy are on Comedy Central commercials when I'm up late night watching South Park. It's basically commercials of him and other people for Comedy Central and pharmaceutical ads. That's what you get. That's it. Okay? So there are certain things here when he's talking about journalism and how important it is and behind a paywall, and he takes a swipe at Alex Jones that I think are really important to break down. On the second half of the broadcast, we've got plenty more clips that I want to go over, including I want to just do the Joe Biden watch along with his bit from the White House Press Club where they're all stroking his ego and they think it's hilarious that they got a dementia-ridden puppet in there. He puts on sunglasses, folks. By the way, it kicks off with a pre-recorded video of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito together. Just fantastic. Thumbs up, subscribe, share. Here we go. A lot to say right here.
Happy to be here. But tonight is all about you all. The journalists, the defenders of free speech.
I'm telling you right now, if you're in that building right now, like last night when this happened, or what was it? Was it last night? It might have been. This might be as fresh as last night. It might be 2 nights ago. But I think it was last night. You're no defender of free speech or the First Amendment. There's very, very few people in that room, if any, that have stood up for Julian Assange recently. I can guarantee you there's just about nobody there that stood up for Alex Jones when he was being deplatformed. These are people who have encouraged censorship. And by the way, he talks about how much money it is, and whether this is a Freudian slip or actually part of his speech, how much money it costs to create the truth. Oh, you create the truth? I thought the truth was the truth and these people were supposed to report on it. But he's going to let you know. They create the truth.
The people who show truth to the world through different mediums, through television, through print, through radio, through whatever China let us see on TikTok.
So let's stop right there. You notice the only time he talks about the internet is in relation to TikTok. And then it's this overarching China theme. China. And it shows that both parties are playing into the China fear-mongering. And just like Russia, China's like a Bernaysian talking point. Like, even if you were talking about the CCP, there'd be some differentiation. But it's China owns TikTok. What actual business entities own TikTok? And who are they working with? And obviously the CCP is involved, but you notice independent journalism was never mentioned there. Raw footage. Raw footage is, like, to me, the most important by far. In fact, there's some raw footage that we're not going to show, but this is the kind of truth that gets created. Huge SatanCon devil worshiping convention sparks protests from religious groups and angry scenes in Boston. And I'm not playing any of those videos. Let's see. That's not what we're doing here. But the headline before was like, these are the white supremacists, white nationalist group Patriot Front. All of them covering up their faces like the cowards they are, like the losers they are, like the federal informants and agents they are. You see how this works? You go out and protest devil worshipers, and I'm not coming at you as some kind of Christian conservative, but certainly you don't have to maybe take a step back and go, hey, maybe let's pull it back. Now, the Satan people want as much press as possible. They want as much conflict as possible. But the people that write the great narrative, these awesome journalists that create the truth, they want to paint you as a white supremacist if you're against devil worship. That's the association they're trying to make. All right? Period. Let's go back to this White House press conference here.
But the industry that covers all of these scandals isn't immune to them themselves. The issue with good media is that most people can't afford that.
It's also bullshit. You know, the Wall Street Journal article is behind a paywall. Numerous other media outlets have now reported on it. Other people, I'm sure, have scraped the available documents, if there are any, right? The source documents are often not put out there, unfortunately. And if they were just obtained by the Wall Street Journal, again, you have to know the Department of Justice obviously had access to them. The FBI knew. Of course they did. And of course they do.
All the essential, fair, and nuanced reporting, it's all stuck behind a paywall.
Totally not true. Totally not true.
People can't afford rent. People can't afford food, not healthy food. They can't afford an education. They damn sure can't afford to pay for the truth. Say what you want about a conspiracy theory, but at least it's affordable. I mean, well, unless you Alex Jones, it'll cost you about $900 million.
Oh, that's funny to him. Let's take a swipe at Alex Jones. And look, say what you want about Alex Jones. Say what you want about InfoWars. I think it's great they exist. And look, just the fact that he gets brought up at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in a quote-unquote free speech victory for the media, so that he loses almost $1 billion lawsuit on getting something wrong. And he got it wrong. And he's admitted it. And there are certain defamation laws maybe he broke, but not being able to present a defense, to be in default, also awful precedents to be set. But it's funny, these people. It's fun. A conspiracy theory doesn't cost anything. Like these are the people that have been caught lying again and again and again and again. And we're the bad guys for trying to tell the truth. I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm harmful content at YouTube, everybody. That's why in the second hour, the only one that we're cutting is YouTube. Come on over to Rumble. Watch second hour for free from now on, Monday through Thursday. Again, Premium's going to get two interviews over the weekend, extra content as well.
And I understand that we have to put the stuff behind the paywall because creating the truth is important.
Creating the truth is important. We have to put it behind a paywall. Creating the truth is important. Costs money to create the truth. Costs money to promote propaganda. Okay? So we're going to come back to this video. We got one more ad, and then we're going to go over to the second hour. And actually, I can pump this product up. This is one that we don't just have to be a commercial for. I actually use this product, and I think it's great. And I've used it for years. It is my personal VPN.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IP Vanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IP Vanish.
And I love IP Vanish. I use it on my phone. Basically, you can get it up to, I think it's on 5 devices. That's most of the things. 5 devices at once if you want to run it. I never run 5 devices. But I think it's a great tool, especially if you're doing research, you need geolocated content, you don't want to be tracked, traced, and databased. It does help just that much. Nothing's perfect. Okay. That being said, here we go. redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. That's how you're going to get the premium stuff from now on. We're leaving YouTube, Arrivederci, YouTube. Subscribe to RVM and myself over at Rumble. That's where you're going to find the second hour. Same title, same thumbnail. We're just cutting this so we can finally talk some RFK Jr. We can already maybe talk a little bit of this, a whole lot more. We're going 12 hours a day now at RVM. I want to thank you at YouTube